Hey guys, AnimeWestReacts here. Gonna be reacting to One Piece chapter 1154, Can't Even Die. So yeah, cover page continuing with Yamato says, at the grave of a hero born in West Blue and brought up in Ringo. Almost said Wano. But yeah, so getting into the chapter, Elbas passed 63 years ago. This is Lord Jarl, not Jarl. Jarl, the eldest man in the present day, lost his partner. Cascade Beard, Yorl, was struck down dead by the hands of a certain young girl. Her name was Charlotte Linlin, a mere human, yet she left a large part of a giant village in ruins. She would later go on to become an emperor, earning the epithet of Big Mom. That same year, Elbas faced a string of tragedies. It was calamity after calamity. Sudden fires, windstorms, and bitter cold waves devastated the crops, and the abnormal weather also brought fishing to a halt. This once magnificent land had fallen into famine. And then, Estrid saying, "Now do you see, this is all that child's doing. This land is cursed because you all failed to kill it immediately." And then one of the guards saying, "No, surely it's just a coincidence." And there's a crash, and Loki has made it back. Esther just screaming, saying, "Yeah, he's staring at me." And they're like, "Prince Loki." And then she says, Take it away. Don't ever let that monster near me again." And then Loki is crying, and they're saying, "Prince Loki, you have to keep away from your mother's room." And she says, Gouge out those monstrous eyes. If left unchecked, his curse will grow till it brings about this nation's collapse." And outside, we got a young girl crying, saying, "I'm hungry." Her mom saying, "Sorry, sweetie. That was the last bit of bread we had." Says, "You're going reaving. We could easily steal what we need from the humans." And another giant says, "Ain't that how it's always been in Elbaf's history?" And someone says, I guess one of the one arguing says, "Don't be ridiculous. A senseless raid on them would only bring shame to Elbaf." And then, other guy says, "That's the law of the land now." And Giant says, "Those bastards from the hunter's village are attacking." And they say, What are they? What are they? It seems they've hit other villages too." And it says, "Quick, arm yourselves. Don't let them loot the village." Internal giant struggles weren't unheard of during desperate times, but these incidents only resulted in making the period more severe and bloody. The country was engulfed in chaos and misery. And so, guy says, "I heard a rumor about that princeling born in the castle. He's cursed, and the bitterness festered as spirits broke." And says, "Hey, wait." And then got Harden. So someone bursts in and says, "Hey, Harden, your brother's doomed this country with his curse." And he's just like, "Huh?" And the guy says, "As his elder brother, you'll take responsibility as a sacrifice." And Ida says, "What are you talking about? Don't you know my son's a cutie who's going to be the world's longest living man?" And so, the guy who bursts in, grabs Ilva, and picks up a weapon and says, "Can it, Ida?" Ida, not Ilva. I don't know where Ilva came from. Oh, yeah. Ilva's one of the giant children from current day. But I know this guy says, "Can it, Ida? You're nothing but an outsider who seduced Harold." And she says, "Go to hell, I love this country." And so Harden picks up has like a sword or stick or something that says, "Don't you lay a finger on my mom." And we just see a fist. And so, Harold's back. So, "I'm gonna flatten you." And they say, "King Harold." And then, he yells. Harden's crying, saying Ida says, "King Harold." And King says, "Brothers, you must not fight amongst each other." And they say, "The king." And he says, word reached me about Loki's birth and the recent famine. I was building a rapport with various nations when the news came. Our allies acted without hesitation. They loaded tons of food and supplies to be shipped here. Humans may be small in stature, but not will. Our allied nations came together to ensure that we got enough to truly fill and satiate our giant bellies. We will graciously accept their aid. And so yeah, it says, Harold, how are we supposed to dock on the island? It's as big as you'd expect. It says, graciously accept their aid. Dig in and fill your hearts with gratitude. And so yeah, you got all the giants eating, crying and eating. It says, if these good folk are ever in a pinch, it'll be our job to return the favor with all our might. Remember, this tiny world is ours to share. And this is Queen Estrid continued to publicly declare that the plagues suffered by Elbaf were brought on by the accursed prince right up until the eve of Harold's return. She denounced her son with bitter hatred until her final anguished breath. It says, naturally, the people believed her passing was part of the curse. And so yeah, you got Harold lifting Loki up, saying, Loki, my son. And then, yeah, they say he was born with a condition that affects his eyes. Well, he could see, but... And so, yeah, they put, like, bandages over his eyes and tell Harold that he's got an eye condition. He says, I understand, what a pity. Whew, and he says, you can't even smile for me. I guess it makes sense. He did just lose his mother. And so, yeah, it says, at only a few months old, Loki had given up on love. And so, yeah, Harold has no idea, so he's saying, you sure have a lot of scrapes, and they say, no, those are... But then, yeah, it says, Harold's diplomacy soon started to bear fruit, and Elbaf's winter finally came to a close. And yeah, they say, branch route run. And yeah, Harold says, that's right, it'll help build inter-village trade and communication. And so, yeah, it says, restoring the fractured nation and venturing across the seas continued to be prioritized while other things became an afterthought. And so, Esther's older brother was appointed as Loki's personal steward, and he's saying freak, or calling Loki a freak. Ooh, and then Hardin says, this is the realm of the dead, isn't it? Isn't it dangerous here? And then Ida says, the coastline keeps the sea separated, so the beast won't come near. And so, yeah, she's opened up a tavern, or she stabs a barrel with an axe, saying, you're so cute when you're worried. And so, yeah, Ida says, don't you have training with Elbow from the West Village? You should head back. She says, this is Ida's tavern, you hear? Fishermen, castaways, even pirates. I'm ready for any and all customers. With any luck, I'll be of help to Harold. So 56 years ago at Jarl's house, he says, you were at the scene of the reverie incident, Harold. He says, yeah, my friend was one of the invited kings. He smuggled me in as one of his guards. Couldn't ask the questions I wanted to without blowing my cover. He says, if that murder hadn't happened, I might have been exposed. And Jarl says, if you were caught, all this would be the least of your worries. Haven't you heard about the Galera Warhammer Company? Says Great Hammer Battalion. Furigana might be a spin on Galila. And so, yeah, Harold says, they're that gruff troop of giant shipwrights that arm themselves with warhammers, right? I thought they were just a myth. And the Jarl says, no, they existed. They really did travel far and wide, sending letters back to Elbaf. I received the final letter myself. It said they'd all been captured. Can you believe it? Over 100 warriors were taken prisoner, including ancient giants. Harold says, "You think the world government was responsible?" And yeah, Jarl says, "There is no doubt that they once faced a great enemy. However, they sank deep into the ocean at a certain point in history. To be blunt, probably a deeper reason why your ideals haven't worked out, and it has nothing to do with you." And then, yeah, he says, "Lingering animosity, huh?" That's what Harold says. Oh, so Jarl says, "These are just rumors, but I also heard a story about a frozen army of giants somewhere. It seems our people are regarded as enemies of the larger world." And Harold says, "Clearly, but I've already resolved to face any hurdle." Yeah. Says Prince Loki, "You cursed my kill," or yeah, "Prince Loki, you cursed and killed my little sister." And someone says Prince Loki, and then yeah, you see him growing. Says, yeah, the uncle, I guess, or Esther's brother, saying, "Now let's see what kind of garbage we'll be serving you up today." Yeah. And someone says, "Wow, the horse of fortune died. The steward's body was in the realm of the dead." So yeah. Well, the horse killed and then killed the brother. But yeah, 48 years before present day, the villagers drew closer in terms of trade and identity with the nation. That, yeah, closer in trade and identity, and the nation stood together. It says, "My dream is to join hands with many other countries around the planet for the giant race to become, or to be welcome all over this grand world." Yeah, girls yelling, "King Harold's so cool," or women, not girls, but yeah. So men saying he changed so much, he's gonna be a king who will go down in history. And it says, well, you look thrilled, Harden. It's because you're illegitimate prince. Loki is the true heir, right? And then yeah, he's like got a tear in his eye, saying, You're just an illegitimate throwaway." And someone says, "This is a disaster. King Harold's already left on his voyage. They're coming. Close the door and get the children inside." And so you got Loki saying, "Beat 'em all, beat 'em all up, guys. This is Elbaf, the world's strongest country. We don't need weaklings here." It says Loki, driven by scorn, unleashed chaos onto Elbaf. So yeah, you got a monster, all his animals attacking people, him hitting a door. It says he laughed at the feeble as they ran, and someone says, "Hey Loki." Hardin says this. "Dad went through hell to rebuild this village." And then he says, "Huh, you think you can call my father Dad?" And he says, "I don't get why everyone respects him. He's dumb for trying to play nice with those human insects." And I think Hardin says that's crap. "We should all try to see from each other's perspective. Don't get cocky just because you're big." So yeah, that's what his mom said to Harold. Whew, but then yeah. And then Loki cracks him with his club and says, "Being cocky is my right. I'm the prince. Don't you dare talk to me, runt. Talk back to me, runt." They say, "Hardin." So yeah, someone tries to go over to him and says, "Stay back, Gerd. He'll think you're his friend." Yeah. This young Gerd and Goldberg says, "Loki will hit you next," and Gerd says, "We are friends, you dummy." And so yeah, she runs over to him saying, "Hardin, Hardin, Hardin, are you okay?" Or yeah, three of them I guess say that. He needs first aid, and this just seems to anger Loki more, and so he just laughs and says, "You're so pathetic I could puke, Hardin. You're just a group of weaklings huddling together. It's because of your mom's filthy blood." And then someone says, "Young master, that's going too far. He's still son of the king. He's also a prince." And Loki yells, "Don't call him a prince." It says Loki spread pain and destruction, but nothing he did filled the hole in his heart. And so, yeah. So it's hurting others, essentially lashing out in a way. And so then we see him fall, and it says, crying, it says, can't even die. I can't even die. And then we see a mountain just in the distance get cut in half, saying, what's the deal with this island? Where's the welcome committee? And Bear and Wolf roar and says, oh wow, we found one. Look, it's a giant whelp. This is definitely Elba. And the guy laughs. Shiki laughs and says, this brat's got one hell of a devil's face. And then Whitebeard says, I know he's a giant, but isn't he a bit too big? Hey kid, why are you crying? And then, yeah, it says, Harold spotted this particular man 8 years ago during the reverie. He single-handedly killed a Navy HQ admiral and vanished without a trace. This feat earned him a massive bounty in the government's ire. Rox D. Zabek, future captain of the Rox Pirates, father of Emperor Blackbeard. So yeah, we finally see what Rox looks like. And he looks very much like Blackbeard. In the facial features, anyway. But yeah, Rox says, alright kid, you better say yes to both these questions. I ain't the type to take no for an answer. First off, this is Elbaf, land of the giants, yeah? Second, we'll find Harold here, yeah? So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this video. We finally get to see what Rox looks like. And yeah, very much just looks like Blackbeard with striped hair. Or, well, skinnier Blackbeard, I guess. But yeah, hope y'all enjoy this video. If you do, then leave a like on it, sub the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll see y'all next time. So,